What's up, people? It's another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best new metal quasi-adjacent podcast from two dudes who are really there. I'm one half your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM, Team Manager Junior. Tim, how is it going?
Great.
Tim's
Feeling
great.
great.
The man of many words. How's it going? It's fucking great. All right. So, what are we talking about this week, everybody? So, this week we're doing a deep dive into one of Tim and I's favorite bands, Vision of Disorder, Long Island's own, and their self-titled debut. And we wanted to go and get some help for this episode because Long Island is not too far from us. So we went out and found two Long Island old heads who have been around in the scene, who remember VOD back in the day and can give us some color commentary about how big they actually were, because I don't think people realize how massive this band was at one point, and all the stories contained therein. So we have Rob and Corey. Boys, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. And my name is Corey. I know it says Kristen on the screen. I don't know if you're going to see that, but I'm using my wife's work computer, so
fair enough.
Apologies.
Fair enough.
Hey, you can be whoever you want these days.
Yeah.
Well, you might not be able to. I don't know. They might pass a rule on that tomorrow.
Oh.
This is true. This is true. So let's let's start off by start with you guys, right? So Tim and I said, let's do a deep dive on the self-titled. And I reached out to Corey and I said, hey, Corey, I've known you for God. It's been like 20 years or something.
20 years,
it's been a long time. And I said, yo, we want to come on. We want to do a show on VOD. Why don't you come on and tell us some memories? He said, well, I can come on, but my boy Rob can do it even better because he remembers all this shit. Can you guys help us understand? So even before the self-title, like what did VOD just literally come out of nowhere? I mean, I have the cassette demo somewhere with like Rhythm of the AK and the whole nine. Did they literally just come out of nowhere and all of a sudden everybody was like, holy shit, this is the thing? Like, tell us about where it all came from based upon what you saw.
So Corey, you want to start or you want me to?
No, you were around for the demo days. I could pick it up when the 7-inch came out.
Yep. All right. So basically, I mean, I don't want to say I was in from the jump because the first demo was out in '93, I think. So when I came into high school in '94, this dude Mike Jutt that I went to high school with like walked up to me and was just like your typical surfer kid from Long Island who was like, oh, you're into like heavy metal and Pantera and Metallica and shit. I was like, yeah. So he's like, I'm gonna bring in this tape for you. It's going to change the way you think about everything. I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever, bullshit. I've heard it all. And it was the Blue Demo. So at that point, he literally got it at a Battle of the Bands, like a couple of weeks beforehand at the local high school. So there was, I forgot what shirt it was. It's one of their first shirts where you have that huge crowd shot on the back. That was the show. And it was basically at the beginning of when that swell started. So like they would play, from what I gather, when you first start off, play a couple of smaller shows to your friends or whatnot, but they got to a point relatively quickly, especially for, early 90s before you had any social media, any type of anything, where they hustled, handed out tapes and just they were different than literally anything else that was coming through from the scene or mainstream, local, like they blended traditional hardcore and metal, which no one was really doing. So they kind of invented this new genre that just people gravitated towards because you had people that were into metal were digging it, people that were into hardcore were digging it. So you kind of had the best of both worlds with that. And you would see them play like, in front of 100 people. Then next time you see it, there'd be 200. Like every time crowds would like double for them. It was crazy.
And this is off the demo, right?
This is off of like the first 2 or 3 demos because they had the Blue Demo, then like I think it was called Extra Shit or something, and then the '95 demo, which one after the other after the other. I mean, I'm pretty sure they recycled a couple of songs on them, and in between they had that Riptide tape, which was this huge. When I say huge, I mean huge to me and my that friend base, and which was all the Long Island hardcore kids, I guess, that would always take 2 bands, put them together, and just put out these tapes, and it would be a live recording. So with that, it was them and this band Loyal to None, and that tape really gave a lot of traction on them, especially for what is that? DTO, where the white collar people always seem to the sideline. Someone grabbed the mic and screamed, "White Castle fries only come in one size." And people would sing along to that for a while with that lyric.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
it's like Dead to Fall, where everything I eat tastes like pizza, right? Like for years, that was that chorus. Yeah.
But yeah, through that, and then off that they did a 7-inch split with Loyal to None, which turned out on the Still when they did the CD version of the Still EP. Those two songs at the end of it, no, what was it? No Regrets, and I don't remember off the top of my head the DTO.
Mhm.
Those were added as the last two songs. That was off the Loyal to None split. So
So they're doing demos and they're doing a couple of random splits. Still is the first thing that is that the first thing that really pops for them?
that was when that came out. It was kind of, and again, it's a 4-song EP. It's not really anything, but that was like game changer when that came out. Like people took notice, and I mean that was me going to a Catholic high school and on Long Island, and random people on the football team were like, "Have you heard this VOD band?" Like everyone just started taking notice of this band. So like it went from kind of like the cool underground thing to like everybody and their mother was into it. So there was this show that's probably, think of legend at this point, at this venue called the PWAC from Long
I
Island,
was gonna
which
ask, that's the show where how many people were there?
the place, let's say, probably just for people who don't know, it was for all intents and purposes a warehouse, converted to some type of Baptist church or something. But it was like a dirty little warehouse that had no acoustics, no anything, that they illegally would throw shows at for a couple of years in Lindenhurst on Long Island. Place probably held 500 uncomfortably. 2,000 people showed up to that show.
Ah,
Um,
damn.
For
Jay,
a
picture.
4-song EP.
yeah, well, at
Yeah.
that point, it was known that they were in talks with Roadrunner. They had the, they had a buzz that was outside of just Long Island. I think people knew this was a thing and and we're trying to get in on it. So there were label people there. There were
That's
undercover cops there because
that's fucking
whatever.
nuts.
But yeah, no, it went very that show was insanity. I still can't believe I got in. I still couldn't tell you who opened that show because Glass Show was supposed to, and I'm pretty sure they didn't. I think they got six. So it was either Day in the Life of Sons of Abraham, one of the two. Um, then the Warped Weeble Wobbles, who played the last show and have since done reunions and played a couple of weeks ago with Tim and Mike from VOD came up and did Divide with them, and Madball. So that was 15-year-old Rob's,
That is
greatest moment ever.
yeah, right. You were saying, Corey, picture
Oh,
what?
sorry, Jay. I was going to say the PWAC because I've been to the church in Philly. So picture two of those next to each other.
Okay.
That's basically what the PWAC was. It was just a big empty space in an industrial section of Suffolk County. And you went off the main road and you parked in the back, and there was a line going around the back. So nobody, I guess, really saw it from the main road. And when you went in, it was just an open space. It was really cool. No drugs, no drinking, all ages.
But like two churches next to another means that to split that show in half, Tim, that would be 1,000 people in the basement of the church.
Jesus
Right.
Christ.
And that was my introduction was like come to this show for this band. I heard Still, but this was the record release, and we went, and like Rob said, there was literally 1,000 kids there just based off of demos and a 4-song 7-inch. At that moment in '95, like Rob said, when we were 15, we should have known that this was going to be the biggest band ever to come out of Long Island, not named Dream Theater. But I have to throw that in
or
there.
Billy Joel. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're
Or
missing
Billy
Billy
Joel,
Joel.
you're right. or Taylor Dane. But it was huge. It was crazy. It blew my mind. I do think Sons of Abraham did open that show, but I can't be 100% sure. But it was great, and it just took off from there. It was unbelievable.
And Sons of Abraham, that was Proto Glassjaw, right? That's Todd Weinstock. That's
Justin Beck,
right,
Neil Rubenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Glassjaw. It was like Glassjaw's side project that eventually became songs that turned into some of the songs off Everything You Want to Know About Silence.
And I can't remember who was before the EP or after, but they were on the New York Hardcore documentary also.
Yes. Yes.
It's on YouTube, but they were on that also, and they were in one of their houses on Long Island talking about how much they love the suburbs. So I'm sure people, got into them from that also. But yeah, this was I mean, this was one of the most fun shows ever, and that was when we were 15 years old. And
Yeah.
Whenever I think of that New York hardcore documentary, the first thing I think of, and this is going to embarrass VOD would probably laugh themselves, the picture of them signing with Roadrunner, where
when
they
Mike
had
Kennedy's
the
wearing
most
his Fridays.
90s suits that I have ever seen in my life, like purple and like wide lapels, and I'm like, yo, these were kids who were getting dressed up to go to the city to sign paperwork, and they had no idea what they were
yeah,
doing.
that was
But
great.
that was apparently all done as a joke because Mike Kennedy was wearing this TGI Fridays outfit in that picture.
No shit.
Yeah, I saw they posted it on their Instagram
I
recently,
gotta
or the
go back
Weebles
and
did,
look.
and it's hysterical. Kennedy is wearing, he went straight from Fridays and is in the outfit.
So talking of still, that was that SFT that came out on
Yeah.
SFT.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't VOD do some sessions with Don Fury before they went into the studio to do? Do I remember or am I getting them and Glassjaw
You're getting
confused? Because I know
Glassjaw confused.
Glassjaw did Don Fury
Yeah,
sessions,
Glassjaw
right?
just released the Fury sessions.
Which
But yeah, I
actually
don't believe
sound
VOD
pretty
did.
damn good, if I'm not gonna lie to you. Like
Oh, they
Everything they do sounds good.
yeah,
true.
yeah. Did any of you guys catch that reunion tour where they did both albums in full
yeah.
back to back? I thought that was
Went
fantastic.
to the Silence one, didn't go to the Worship one because I'm a poor guy with a mortgage.
Yeah, I went to both of them. They did 2 nights here.
Mm,
And one night, Life of Agony opened up, and the other night, Earth Crisis opened up.
Oh
man.
shit.
That's a throwback. Yeah, they did. I did the Philly show where I forget Incendiary opened, and I forget who else. But they did both sets with an intermission. It was both shows
Oh,
one night. And
I
it was.
wish I got that.
I left after what is it? Wide World of Sports, I think it was. I got like
Okay.
3/4 of the way through worship, and I was like, all right, my ears are. I'm old. I'm fat. My knees hurt. My ears are tired. Like I just got to go home, and put my feet up. Like I'm calling the audible.
Wear earplugs, man. Come
I
on.
do wear earplugs,
Oh,
and even
right.
still, I was like, man, I got to go home.
Yeah, well, the tones they get, especially out of the bass and drums, I mean, they get loud.
So, I mean, so it's not that I want to talk about Glassjaw the whole time, but
I'll do that
whatever
too.
happened to some of the guys that were in that band originally? Like, what happened to Todd Weinstock? What happened to some of those guys? Because I
It's,
actually think that the reunion band doesn't sound bad. You know, Beck is a hell of a guitarist,
mm.
but the weird shit that he did on Worship and Tribute actually made that album so bizarrely unique, and it definitely is lacking in a live setting.
Todd went on to do Men, Women, and Children afterwards,
Yeah.
which was like a dance pop type thing
Jeez.
with this dude TJ Penzone. Really cool for what it was, very unique. But that was not, it didn't last too long. It was on Warner. So, I mean, they just parlayed that contract and just kind of went
Right.
with it. Most recently, there was a Silent Majority reunion in Brooklyn and the band Cleanser reunited, but the
Mhm.
guitarist couldn't get out for it. So Todd played guitar for them for that. So it was great just to see him play. Uh, I mean, granted, it wasn't songs he wrote, but he killed it. So he's still showing up and popping
Still
around
bouncing
every now
around.
and again. Then you had Manny, who was in the band Stillsuit.
I
He
remember them.
Stillsuit came back. I thought they were going to record. I was hoping so because they started playing again and just vanished out of nowhere. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they're still kicking around, but no idea. And then Daraja was one of the other drummers. That dude was fantastic. I have no idea what happened to him.
Hmm. That's
And
why we
then,
have Rob on, man. He
yeah,
keeps track of
Yeah,
everybody.
that's the thing.
He knows
Once
where he
again,
is.
couldn't tell you what my kid looks like, but I can tell you anything about freaking like any band.
So how far between guys between that PWAC show? How far between that and then does the self-titled come out? Like how is that a big window? Were they already knee deep in recording
I'm
or
pretty sure that was
Same year.
already out by then. Not like out for the public, but I mean, I think they were done. I think the tape
okay?
was getting circulated around because that was the cool thing back then when anyone was on a label. Somebody knew somebody who had the tape that it kind of went through the circles. So for that and Imprint, both of those went through. Everybody on Long Island had it months before they actually came out, which was awesome. It was. I don't know. Anything that went through Roadrunner that happened. Glassjaw had happened too. I can probably say that now. I think we're past the point of them being mad about it. But like if it was on Roadrunner and you were on Long Island, you had a copy of it like 3 months before it came out, which was always awesome.
Which is
So
wild. Which
when
is
they would play
completely
those
wild.
shows, even if it's like this is a new one, everyone knew the song already.
Yeah, yeah. Still was 95. the record release, I still think, was the beginning of '96, and then later on in that year, the self-titled came out, and then that record release, I believe, was the same year. I think everything happened in '96 in terms of show release,
Okay.
record release, and then the record release for the self-titled was also at the PWAC, and I believe Madball opened up, right, Rob? We were discussing that.
I still don't know if that was the record release or not,
I
but
know, but the Weeble Wobbles did play, and that was
yeah.
just as huge as Still was. But now, once the full length came out, if we're getting into that now you have other people that weren't into hardcore getting into it, right? The guys that were, I don't know who was big at that time, maybe Fear Factory or Nine
Yeah,
Inch
so
Nails.
I remember the first tour, first time I saw VOD, it was it was them. God, it was them, Day in the Life, One King Down, and I want to say Fahrenheit 451
that is a
at,
fantastic
the
show.
Trocadero.
Cool.
And
I
I
love
just
that
remember
place.
having my mind blown. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That was something else. Tim, when was the first time you saw VOD?
I couldn't even fucking tell you, dude.
too many gin and tonics in between then and now. But I just remember, I'm away at college, right, doing the drinking frat guy thing, but I'm still listening to heavy music. And my brother calls me up. My brother's 4 years younger than me. He's still in high school. And he calls me up and he says, "Hey, I think I found this band. I think you'd like it." And I said, "All right, well, I'll go to the mall later. What should I pick up?" And he tells me, and I wrote it down as Vision of the Sword because he wasn't speaking, either I was drunk or he wasn't speaking English correctly. Probably a mix of the two, that North Jersey accent coupled with, too much beast ice on the brain. And I ended up going into like the Sam Goody, the Deptford Mall. And I'm like, "Do you guys have this?" And the guy looks at me, "What the fuck is that?" I'm like, "Vision of the Sword." He's like, "Have a Vision of Disorder." I said, "That sounds like more like it." And then he's like, "Roadrunner." I'm like, "Okay, sold." Because at this point, you could still buy anything on Roadrunner. 9 times out of 10, you'd probably enjoy it. I'm going to say it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Except for that fucking Floodgate album, which I'm still pissed I spent $15 on. I don't care if it's the guys from Exhorder. I still want my $15 back, but I digress. And I remember
The only thing
this,
worse than that was Shank 456, which I also owned, which was on.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Woof. Woof, man, we're gonna Rob's gonna disappear into a closet, come out with like the most embarrassing CDs he owns, and we're gonna be like, "No."
I'm just like, shit, the only thing I think of on Roadrunner like that was, oh my God, you did that was Nickelback. And I mean, you know what? They made a shit ton of money, so good on them.
Not for nothing. Shout out to Ryan Rainbow in the Meat podcast. He
I listened to that the other day.
Did you listen to that? He interviews Chad Kruger's brother, who's the bass player. And first of all, they all really like heavy music, which is kind of amusing. But Tim and I have this conversation all the time. You can shit on Nickelback all you want. Those motherfuckers write hits. Like every album, there's 2 to 3 hits. And, I mean, good on you. But so I pick up VOD and I get home and I'm like, "What is this?" Because to your point, like I'd never heard anybody mix it that way before. There was an interview that Mike Kennedy did where he even talked about how our first album, we didn't realize that you could go back to a riff you used earlier in the song. So like when you think of Element, it's literally 7 riffs stacked in a row. And then the song's over. They never go back on it. And I just remember hearing that and going, "Holy shit, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this?"
That album resonated, like I was saying, with kids that weren't into hardcore. Like kids that were in Pearl Jam, listening to Pearl Jam and Nirvana and the Pumpkins, they got into the self-titled. And I remember that because driving to that record release were a couple of guys older than me because they were driving and I was 16 at the time. And those were guys coming from like the, Green Day, Offspring kind of, music world. And they were into it. And we were listening to the self-titled on the way to the record release.
That is wild.
Yeah, it was great.
That is completely nuts. All right, Tim, what else you got?
I'm just listening you guys go.
We're just winging it. Fuck,
we'll
wing it. So I actually think so. I looked at some of like the notes from the album today. So what is it? 15 tracks, I think it is, something like that. And it's or 12 tracks and it's 34 minutes. I will say, going back, I think it holds up well. There are a couple songs where I definitely think you could have cut
Agreed.
1 or 2 here or there, maybe slimmed it down. I'm a big believer in the 7-song long EP. Dude, give me a solid 7 over 10 with some filler. That being said, I actually think some of the better songs are buried in the second half of the album. Like they're one of the rare bands where you get into the second half, it's like, holy shit, there's some really good songs on
like
here.
Yeah, Zone
DTO,
Zero.
Oh,
Yeah,
DTO is
DTO, Zone
fantastic.
Zero. Oh my God,
Gloom.
Yes, I actually think so like when I put in this album, I typically don't listen to Watering Disease.
Oh,
And I think I skip Liberation. But then Divide, Waves Destroy One's Ambition,
Wait,
Suffer.
you don't like the fucking what?
Eh,
Oh my
eh.
god,
Ways to
that
Destroy.
whole
It's great.
I'm not
Yeah.
taking one track off the fucking record. The record's perfect.
Love
I
that.
would.
I never skip tracks either.
I don't
Yeah,
skip,
fuck
and I
that.
like the song, but still to this day, going back to being, 15, 16-year-old asshole, Gloom, because it wasn't Formula for Failure, pissed me off so much because I always thought that that was going to be on their record.
Right.
Like that was my jam, that and 713. So 713 figured wasn't going to make it because it was on like three other releases at this point, but Formula was like the song. Like everyone went nuts for that every time. And I'm
And
like, they
Rob,
didn't
that
do
was on a
this.
couple of their demos, right? Wasn't it on 2 demos and a split? And then
Yeah.
yeah.
And the live thing, like it was just always there, but it was always like one of the bigger reaction songs. So you
Right.
figure they're doing this, they're releasing, I mean, on that Green Drip, most of those songs were previously released to, via demo or
Mm.
whatever. So you figure they would have thrown the one that really like people murdered each other during. I mean, I've gotten punched in the face to that song probably more times than I'd like to admit, but like that wasn't on. I was like, what is this gloom shit? And like going, being 44, it's like that song rules. What the hell's wrong with
Mhm.
me?
Yeah.
But I remember being pissed at it at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember. So since then, we've heard all these stories come out about how they really weren't happy with the album cover. It was kind of picked by the label. They weren't really happy with the recording. I forget what studio they went to where they didn't realize that Matt Anderson did the Madball album, so they went to the same studio, but they didn't have Anderson produce it. And Jamie Locke did it, I think,
Yeah,
and
he
that
did.
kind of rubbed
Yeah,
them a long way. It is kind of a little tinny as
no,
far
it
as the
is.
recording
And I
goes.
know just from being, from Long Island at that place and dealing with, the eyes of the scene, or at least my collective group of asshole friends, uh, everyone complained that you didn't get the Tim breathing in that you got on all the demos and you got on Imprint, which was apparently on Imprint a conscious decision to have him do that thing that he
Which,
would
by
do
the
in
way,
between.
makes it 10 times more like aggressive
Yeah,
because you
exactly.
you can hear him breathing and full lung on a line of like 4 words. It's like, Jesus, this guy's trying to
Yeah.
he's trying to kill himself. It
I,
sounds
I
unbelievable.
remember the first time listening to the demo with my older brother, he's like, this band will never go to a major or anything because there's no way that anyone would ever put out anything where someone's breathing in like that because it's too heavy for anything. And then lo and behold, like a year later, that came out and they suppressed
Right,
all of that.
right.
But you can still make it out, I think, and suffer a little bit, but they really muted the hell out of that.
I think that record sounds incredible. My only complaint with that record is his vocals are way too high in the mix for my taste.
Which
That's
one?
all I can say.
No,
No,
the
on the
first one.
self-titled, yeah.
Yeah, no, overall the sound, especially the drums on that sound phenomenal.
Dude, it
Even
sounds so fucking good in my car, man.
yeah, and
Like,
like what
listening
are we,
today on
30
the way
years
home from
later?
work. Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds
and
amazing.
it still sounds amazing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
that
not a
dude-
sound snob. I don't care. I just think it sounds great. I
Yeah.
really do. Vocals, everything. They did a killer job with it. But yeah, I mean, around that, right after that came out, they blew up. They played everything, everywhere. Warped Tour, and,
Warped Tour, Ozfest.
Ozfest. They played Long Island every time they came home, they'd play.
That was the good thing about them. Even though people would talk shit about them, they were always loyal to Long Island. They would, any tour cycle, it ended, they would do a show. Like there's so many, they played a synagogue in Levittown once. Uh, where I mean that show was incredible. It was them, Glassjaw, Weebles, which seems to be a recurring theme. The Movie Life, and before they were brand new, they were called the Rookie Lot, which was most of the band brand new, and it was literally in a synagogue that held probably 500, 600, and it was when they were testing out all the stuff for the Bleeders album, so they were just going back doing the old stuff.
Jesus.
That's hands down one of the top shows on Long Island that I can throw out.
My
Probably because I could walk
favorite
there.
was I'm sorry, my favorite was on Island Park. It was a place called Mirage, which was a big a big club in the 80s for new wave and such.
Okay.
And then at some point in the 90s, they had some bands there. I saw Biohazard there once. But
Like, didn't
on
the
one,
Deftones play there?
I don't remember.
I think
I know
Deftones
one,
Life of Agony played there.
in 97, one Sunday afternoon at like 2 in the afternoon, it was Glassjaw, VOD, and Earth Crisis. And we were all teenagers. And I remember it was on the water. The club was on the water, and the side of the club was right on, like, I say the water, it's not on the ocean, it's on like a pond, but we're all hanging out there. I think Glassjaw just ended, so we're all hanging out and we're waiting for VOD, but we're kind of far away. And we hear somebody tuning up, but it wasn't a tune up. They opened up with Watch Out. And we just hear Tim go, Watch Out. And we all just got up and ran. And I remember we all ran into the side entrance and we all just ran right into the crowd, and we were all on the stage jumping off. Like that show is vivid. My friend actually has pictures, and I could send it to you from that show because he was on stage taking pictures.
I'd say that was like a mass exodus though, because everyone from that show was outside. And I think it had to have been just them like, screw it, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
But I mean, I vividly recall like 200, 300 people just all at the same time,
all
just
hardcore
looking
kids
at
running
each
at
other.
full tilt.
Yeah, and just going, through the 3 doors that they had.
Yeah, that was. And besides the record release, that was probably my favorite show on Long Island that they played.
That was also a key Glassjaw show too, because I remember they played and the barricade broke mid-set. And then for Earth Crisis and VOD, people were basically using that as a ramp to run up on the stage and just dive off, which was awesome.
And Earth Crisis headlined that. Like, that's how it was. Long Island and Earth Crisis is, I believe, right, Rob?
No, VOD headlined.
VOD headlined?
Yeah, no, Earth Crisis was second. I actually looked at the ticket stub recently. That was $10.
$10. Unbelievable.
Yeah, no, oh god.
I got the chance to see either you guys remember the Tramps in Manhattan?
Yeah.
It was literally, there's no way this venue could be open today because it's all apartments and condos, and then you had a fucking metal club. And I remember seeing it was VOD off of Imprint touring a co-headliner with Earth Crisis off of what's the first one? The one they did a Roadrunner, Breed the Killers.
Yeah.
And opening was Another Victim and Fury of 5.
God damn.
And my brother and I walked in, and I'm a fat guy, but I'm not a big guy, right? And my brother is tiny, and there's dudes all like fucking what's his name from Fury of 5 size
coming
James,
out. The singer?
And my brother and I looking at each other like, what the fuck is gonna happen in here? But like, yeah, what an amazing time for a bunch of amazing bands. So I mean, we touched on Imprint. I actually think that VOD is one of those bands that was so far ahead of their time that they never got the national attention that they should have gotten because their sound was so forward that I think people didn't know what to do. Like, look, you do the self-titled, right, which is metal and hardcore blended in a way that nobody'd heard. Then they really got abrasive. They hit it with sandpaper and roughened the vocals and did Imprint. Then when everybody's finally getting into it, they said, fuck it, we're going to do more Doorsy Depeche Mode type stuff. And they did For the Bleeders, which I think is a fantastic album, but it's just terribly ignored. And then by that point, TBT gives them not For the Bleeders, From Bliss to Devastation. And then TBT, well, I don't know why anybody signs to some of these labels, but TBT fucks that one up. And then they're like, all right. And then they did a couple of comeback albums, which I actually don't think Raised to the Ground I thought was great. There was another one I thought was really good.
Curse Remain Cursed?
Yeah.
That's my third favorite VOD album.
Yeah, it's actually damn good.
The first 2 songs on that album are so heavy.
Tim, when's the last time you listened to that?
Dude, I couldn't. I even forgot that record came out.
Most people did.
I listened to more of the Blood Simple stuff, honestly. I mean, I know it wasn't really the whole band, but that shit's really good too.
Well, they had a moment for that, right? They did what, 2 albums? 3 albums?
Yeah,
I believe so.
I think 2, right?
Yeah, something like that. I remember, I think the last time I saw VOD before I drove up to Long Island to hang out with Corey, it was the WSOU 15th anniversary bash, and it was right after From Bliss of Devastation came out, but they played all the old songs, and the place was going absolutely bananas. It was going bananas. It was wild.
Imprint divides us, I know, and it divides a lot of people. And Jay, the first time we met down in Philly at the Turmoil show, I think you brought that up and you're like, oh yeah, VOD, Imprint. And I was like, Imprint? You mean the self-titled album? And I was like, what?
Yeah, I remember
What
that. Yeah.
Turmoil show did you guys go to?
Oh, it was the Turmoil reunion show they did with
Okay.
who was
All
that
Else
with?
Failed.
All Else Failed.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I drove down for that, and that's when I first realized that people out of state loved Imprint, and people on our little island love the demos and the 7 inches.
Well,
And
because you remember that you heard the history, like you got to see it get to where it got.
Yeah.
For the rest of us, that thing came out of nowhere. Yeah, I actually, Tim, that was the first time I met Corey. I knew him through Lamb Goat, of all things. Shout out to the webmaster. And
I
Turmoil.
didn't think you were going to bring that up. I thought you were going to be too embarrassed to do that.
No, fuck that. At this point, Lurk's trying to kill it, so we can laugh about it. But yeah, I knew Corey through Lamb Goat, and him and a bunch of other people came down, and me and Rob went into the city. And we met up with them, and then we went and got cheesesteaks and whatnot. But yeah, it was a good time. It was with the drummer from Last Perfection. Yes, Andrea's husband.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
that's another story with that record label. Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. But yeah, it was the first time I actually met Corey. I was like, Jesus Christ, this dude's fucking tall. But yeah, we ended up in the basement of the church for the Turmoil reunion.
Yeah, that was fun.
I was at that show.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's before I knew Tim. Yeah.
Very cool. And then you came up in 2006. Rob, I don't know if you were there. VOD and Neck played in 2006.
And Candiria. That was one of their first shows after they had the accident, and they never released. What was the album after What Doesn't Kill You? The one that
Kiss the Lie or whatever.
Kiss the Lie. That was shelved, and they disappeared, and they did a reunion. They were taping for a DVD, so me and Rob drove up to Long Island to hang out with Corey and go to that show. And man, that was. What venue was that? I don't even remember.
So that was a club in Levittown.
That was Ritual?
That was Ritual, right?
I was there.
It's been named. It has a million names. I don't even know what it is now. It's probably an OTB.
No, it's literally closed down. I drove past it the other day. It's been nothing since Ritual.
Yeah, I saw that show. I saw the Motive reunion, and that was I saw Too Pure to Die when they came through once.
You didn't go to the Blood Simple show where VOD did the 3-song reunion?
No.
Oh, that was so good.
Neck was pre-Car Bomb, right?
Yeah. Same drummer. Yeah.
Speaking of Car Bomb, have any of you guys been to the one venue that's in Brooklyn? Not the Monarch, the other one?
Paramount.
The Meadows?
Oh, gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. That is.
Corey, did you go to the Dillinger reunion?
Yeah, Dillinger Car Bomb opened. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so you went to that one?
I was telling you to come. I wanted you to come up.
Did we catch them?
Well, that was when they announced the Friday show, and it sold out like nothing. Yeah. And then they announced the Saturday show same day, and it sold out warp speed. And then they waited a day, and it was like a random Saturday, and they said, all right, we're going to do one more show, and it was on a Sunday, and it had all the openers. So I texted my brother, who's up in Bushwick, and I'm like, yo, you go? He's like, yeah, just get tickets. So we went to the Sunday show. I will tell you that I don't understand how anybody likes the Callous Cowboys. I just don't understand it. Candy was unbelievably heavy. To the point where I'm glad that Relapse dropped them, because Relapse had no idea what to do with that fucking band. Like they had no idea what to do with
that. Last record from last year was great.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Awesome. Car Bomb is a lot live. It's great to listen to, but it's a lot live. And I will say that as much as I love Dead Guy, they had vocal problems, and they could not get Tim Singer to sound right. He was crackling and fuzzing the whole time, and they are a vicious live band.
I was so mad I missed them because I went to the first night.
The
only one that Dead Guy didn't play. And I was just like, it was one of those, son of a bitch. Anyone want to switch? And of course, nobody did.
But we got to see Candy, and we got to see Dillinger, and it was fantastic. And I went back to the Paramount recently. I saw the Refused last.
How was that show? That was them, Orange 9, and Quicksand.
Quicksand, yep. It was sold out, so you can imagine how many people were there.
People were in there, and Tim, the floor is
slanted. Yeah.
Slanted. So unless you're on the sides or you're up in the back, you're us old guy ankles.
Nah, fuck that.
Yeah.
It's
tough.
I won't go there unless I have to.
But I will tell you though, it's a gorgeous venue, and the acoustics are unbelievable.
Yeah,
like I was in the bathroom, and the sound was great.
That's next week.
Yeah, it's a 20.
All right, I'm apparently going back. Never mind.
What are you guys going to see?
Poison the Well, Glassjaw, Better Lovers.
Yep, Tim and I got it next Friday. Yep.
Nice.
That's awesome. I always said I will only see Poison the Well on the opposite of December reunions on anniversary, and it's been 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I give myself 3 songs and I leave. I'm old. I got work in the morning.
Luckily, it's a Friday for us.
Yeah, speaking of work,
jealous.
when I went to Corey's house, it was on a Sunday night. We drove up to Long Island. That's a good like 3 hours from where Rob was living in Cherry Hill at the time. I had the first day of a new job the next day.
Oh,
I literally slept on Rob's couch in this ghetto fucking bachelor pad. Got up and took a shower in his skeevy shower, put on a shirt and tie because I had to wear a shirt and tie. I went to the first day of my new job and I showed up and they definitely were like, "What did we hire?"
wow.
Were you reeking like booze?
No, we didn't get drunk because, dude, it was.
Okay.
I mean, again, it's a 2.5 hour drive. Like
Yeah.
I remember I think I fell asleep at one point. I remember coming over the Verrazano, and then I woke up again, and Rob's like, "Oh, you're awake, dickhead. You've been asleep for the last hour." Yeah, that was a trip. That was a trip.
We've all done that. The late show with work the next morning. Hellfest 2001 up in Syracuse. I drove home and I had an internship on Monday, and that was on a Sunday. And I didn't sleep at all. I drove all the way, and I started my internship. It was brutal.
Jesus.
I still remember that.
That's like the story. We had our buddy Jimmy Ferrari on talking about. He went to Woodstock '99, and he talked about how him and his girlfriend left before the Chili Peppers came on. And he's like, "Dude, I got home, I took a shower, I turned on the TV, and everything is on fire." He's like, "I'm like, what the hell just happened?"
Yeah.
All right, so we've been bouncing all over the place. So the guys do this full length, and they go out, and I think they toured religiously. Like they went out with everybody. I think they did a hell of a long run leading up to Imprint, where they then went out with, they did the headliner with Earth Crisis. Them and Earth Crisis, I remember, opened for Sepultura on the tour without, it was the tour without Max. I think it was Against.
Yeah, Against.
I think they were the openers.
Yeah.
Not a bad album. Not a bad album. But Tim and I talk about it all the time. I wish the Cavallera brothers would sit down with Andreas and be like, "Look, dude, we can get 4 separate tour buses. We can sell out every fucking show along the United States. Let's just do one more, do just everything up until Roots." Are you kidding me?
I don't know how you guys feel, but they don't even need the other guys. I saw the Cavalleras do Arise and Beneath the Remains twice on that tour. They don't even need Andreas and Paula.
See, so here's the problem with, I'm going to put Philly on blast here. Here's the problem with Philly being a hardcore city. We don't get good metal tours very rarely, unless like Rob Wharton from Cognitive is putting it together, or unless they have a stop here for a different reason. They go to Allentown, right, Tim?
Yeah.
They go to where's the other place that they go to?
They go out to Allentown or some shit.
Now there's a lot of shit in Mechanicsburg, which is halfway between here and Pittsburgh. Love Drafts Brewing does a whole bunch of shit. So like we don't get when I saw I wanted to see, it was Hate Eternal, and Misery Index. And they played, I think it was the back room of, what is that, Webster Hall, I guess?
Downstairs, the studio.
Yeah. I had to drive up to New York just because they didn't come through Philly. Right. The last show I had COVID tickets was I wish they would put this lineup back together. It was Origin, Beneath the Remains, and Origin, Beneath the Massacre, and Defeated Sanity playing LPR.
Okay.
And I was watching the country shut down for COVID. And the tour is still going, and I'm like, "Come on, baby. Just give me 4 more days. I'll take the hospital stay. Come on, baby." And then Beneath the Massacre stays in Canada. And I'm like, "Shit, well, It's still Origin." And then 2 days later, they called the audible and they bagged it. I was like, "Ah."
Yeah. I didn't realize Philly didn't get the metal shows. I didn't realize that.
Well, yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Who was the dude that came on and said the reason why we don't get that many metal shows anymore? I believe whoever it was said it's pretty much based on like Spotify numbers and all that kind of shit. Like they're basically going off of like who's listening in them cities more, which makes no fucking sense. Because how does Harrisburg have more of a listener, like a viewing listener, than Philly? That's just fucking crazy to me.
Makes less than no sense.
Yeah, we have a problem here, and Rob will tell you. Everybody plays Brooklyn now. Nobody comes down into Queens. Nobody plays Queens, and then
is there even a venue in Queens?
The Knockdown Center, which is
well, no one should ever play the Knockdown Center.
I mean, Power Trip played there. It sounded pretty good, but it's also a huge warehouse with the sounds kind of
okay.
But also, and you know what? I'll give the rest of the country's defense, especially Long Island. Like, it's just out of the way. Like, there's nothing. Why would you want to drive out here? And then,
well, it's like Southern Florida,
sucks.
Right, Rob? It's like Southern Florida. That's why they come down and they scoop through Jacksonville. Maybe they'll hit Tampa, But once you get past that, that's 2 hours down and
Yeah,
2 hours back that you just
yeah.
that you
There's-
lose before
yeah.
you even gotten anywhere. Yeah.
Like you're going there back, you're killing 4 hours, and it's just like, why? Like, especially if you're not a major band doing whatever, you're getting like what, $400 at the price of
Right.
gas and shit. Like, you're not getting anything right now. It's like,
I-
cool,
But
we're not even eating.
Philly is so close to New York, Jersey. I mean, like it's a prime location. You know
Totally.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I prefer going to Philly for shows over
Yeah.
like
Yeah, for
New
2
York
hours.
or the city or Brooklyn. Like Brooklyn is, I guess, convenient, but it's a pain in the ass. You can't park anywhere. Philly, I've never had a problem with parking. Like it's
Oh.
always everything's been convenient there for me.
Rob hates Brooklyn. He will make every excuse known to man not to go to a show in Brooklyn.
I'm the same way with Philly. I hate Philly.
Tim hates coming to shows. I got to drag him out by his
Oh
nose.
But
god.
how
Yeah,
far
no-
are you Tim, from Philly?
I can get on 95 in fucking 13 seconds. That's how close I'm.
Yeah,
I can get to Electric Factory in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
No
he's
excuses.
real close. Yeah.
I just fucking hate parking down there. God damn, man.
And the thing is, aside from like the Electric Factory and some of the bigger venues, Troc, TLA, once you start getting to like the smaller shit, the church is not terrible. But like some of the other smaller venues, it's like you're 9 blocks away and you get out and it literally looks like the Gaza Strip, and you're like, should I even be leaving my car here? Like I went and saw speaking of the church, I definitely terrified this bougie hipster couple because I went to see Drain there. It was Drain, Gel, bunch of other bands that don't exist
Drug
anymore.
Church, yeah.
They've all been canceled. And dude, it was so hot I was soaked. And it was hot in the basement, but it was cool outside. So I come out and I go to my car and I have a flannel in there. I don't have a flannel. So I'm like, oh, fuck it. So I'm going to put on the flannel because I don't want to drive home in a soaking cold fucking shirt. I'm a big fat dude, right? I take my shirt off. This couple comes around the corner and they see this giant fat guy with no shirt on, all sweaty and shit. They literally turn around and walk the other way. And I was like, hey, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
That's good.
I remember I saw Backstabbers Inc. in Allentown. And this is the tour where Ryan left halfway through, so they had to finish it without a singer. And it was a matinee, and we're talking to the band afterwards, and they're like, "Well, what show you guys got next?" And they're like, "Oh, we're playing a show tonight up in Yonkers." And Rob and I looked at each other, we looked at the guy, we looked at Brian, the one guitarist, and Rob goes, "Lock the van," and I just started laughing.
Oh, they're probably playing with immolation or something.
Probably.
That's funny.
So why do you think that Brooklyn is the only place people are going now? Because I mean, shit, from the New York scene has always been fucking huge.
There's no venues on the island, are there? Aside from the Sony thing.
Well, on the island, there's not that many venues. There's AMH, which is fantastic. They just redid it. It's now 400, I think, cap venue. It's awesome. So if any band's listening wants to play, go there. They're awesome. But you got that, the Paramount. Outside of that, you don't have anything on Long Island. Then in the city, you have Sony, Irving, Webster Hall.
Gramercy.
Like, yeah, Gramercy is a decent, like, mid-sized venue, but anything's either like 1,000+ cap or like a couple of hundred outside of the Gramercy. So I don't think there's a lot of choices for your, like 700, 800 person.
Yeah, your mid-level touring bands.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Coney Island's gone, Wetlands is gone, Brownies is gone, Tramps is gone,
Tramps is gone.
all that, those types of venues. I think it was Rob Wharton we were talking to, Tim, about that, where he said there's smaller venues and then there's your big national touring act venues, but there's very few things in the middle where a band that kind of has like a VOD that, PWAC days where you kind of show up and you can have a draw, there's no space for them.
Yeah, right now, especially in Manhattan, you got Bowery Ballroom and Gramercy are like the only two that really, I think, can have that 500-ish cap, and it's like nice and packed, but not uncomfortable.
But Manhattan's a different animal, right? So you could see, everybody just seems to be going to Brooklyn now because people moved out of Manhattan into Brooklyn. People that got jobs anywhere in the boroughs are living in Brooklyn. The bands are moving. I mean, like I think Coheed and Cambria live in Brooklyn now. Like even the big bands are living in Brooklyn. So they open so many venues there. I mean, the Monarch and the Meadows are right next door to each other. Monarch's bigger than the Meadows. Like Drain Show, that tour played the Monarch. And then Meadows was the Boundaries tour with Orthodox, and and they're right. So Brooklyn has everything. It's just a pain to get to from where we are because it's traffic beyond traffic. There's no direct trains there, but
There's no directs into Brooklyn for where you guys are?
you could go to Atlantic Terminal where Brooklyn Paramount is.
Okay.
When you go to Williamsburg and such, I mean, you have to hop on, right, Rob? You probably have to get on some subways, and we're not doing that.
Do that, or you can Uber, or like anything you do. It's like screw it. I'll just drive and be miserable.
Yeah.
Ugh. That's
Yeah.
terrible.
But
On
I
the
still
plus
do it.
side, we can get halal on the way home. So you
Always
you take the good with the bad.
Yeah, there is always the combo Giro truck. I remember when I was when I went up to the Dillinger show, I stayed at the Holiday Inn, which is down the street. And the next morning I get up and I'm like, okay, well, I gotta get back to Penn Station, whenever I get home. And it was like a $60 Uber ride. I'm like, there's no fucking way. The subway was like $3. And
Yeah.
granted, I'm on the subway with a bunch of questionable New Yorkers, but at the same time, I was like, I saved myself $57. But yeah, there was some. It was a morning commute. It was a Monday morning, and I'm looking around at some of these people, and I'm like, Jesus! Like I thought we had a rough in Philly, but I laugh. My brother is one of those people. My brother fell asleep once. He was my brother's a restaurant guy, but he looks like the fucking Unabomber. He wears a giant, oversized camouflage parka, and he has a big beard, and he's bald up top, and he fell asleep once. He was coming home from work, and he was tired. He sat down on a bench in Washington Square Park, and he slept for like 8 hours. Woke up, had his wallet, had his phone, had his keys, had all of his stuff, and I said, Daniel, they didn't mug you? And he's like, well, I kind of look homeless, so I guess they just left me alone. Like, this is the same kid who woke up in fucking, what was it, Brighton? Is that the last stop, going all the way out?
Yep.
Because he fell asleep on the train and wasn't paying attention, and he ended up all the way at the shore. And Tim, it's like a 50-minute subway ride. You are at the end of the outer boroughs. You're at the end. You're literally, the next stop is the fucking Atlantic. It's Seagulls.
He went all the way out there. And going to where the hell's that place we went and Limp Bizkit fucking canceled?
Asbury Park.
Yeah, there you go.
Tim and I drove
was
all
that
the way
the
out.
summer stage, or
Yeah, we drove all the way out. We were getting set up, and one of the bartenders pulls up this chick on a Harley. So we all start, a bunch of dudes drinking beer in a parking lot. Of course, we're gonna talk shit. It's, I mean, look at the demographic. And she goes inside, and they're sound checking, and this was Limp Bizkit and Spirit Box. And like 2 hours later, she comes out, and we're like, "What are you doing here?" She's like, "Yeah, guys, show's canceled."
Oh,
and we're like, "What?" Because not for nothing, Asbury, even though Tim's in Philly and I'm in Jersey, it's not an easy ride for us because we gotta go straight across the state and then we gotta go up. Asbury's an hour and a half from me, and she's like, "Yeah, show's canceled. Somebody tested positive for COVID." So we hung out, and waited, and all of a sudden they made the announcement, and then it showed up on the Facebook page that the event was canceled, and it was like, "Fuck, man, whatever." Kind of sucked. And then I was like, all right, we got to go to another show. What other show was that night, Tim? It was Departed.
It was Chamber and
I Am.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, we should go. And then halfway home, I'm like, Tim, I'm not going, dude. I'm so angry. I'm just gonna go to bed. I literally came home, went to bed. I was so angry.
I would be too. Yeah.
It was so pissed. But I will say, I saw them again in Atlantic City. I saw them last summer at the PNC Bank Art Center in Homedale. I got tickets to see them with Metallica this summer. Like, I'm sorry, they still put on a fucking awesome show. I don't know what to tell people. Like, they're having a good time. They're having a good time. So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on Tim's other project, Rolling Coffin? Do you guys check that out at all? I think it's fantastic. Tim hates it.
Yep, I'm a big fan. It kind of gives me the Alice in Chains types of vibes, and really dig. I think there's new stuff coming out for it, or I listened to something really old and it's not. But that EP put out, I thought was great.
I haven't heard it. Last thing I heard from them was the self-titled.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Corey's one of those guys. Forget it. Everything after that is terrible. I remember listening to an interview with him where he said one of his biggest influences is Jim Morrison, which makes Rolling Coffin make that much more sense because It's him actually trying to sing like that. So back to VOD, right?
You would think I would love that then because I have a fucking Morrison tattoo on me.
And crazy, yet you are, Tim, you are a conundrum wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in a mystery. So they do the self-titled, right? Corey checks out. He's like, I'm not doing imprint. They go to imprint. And then they did was For the Bleeders between
Yeah, For the
Imprint?
Bleeders was next because
So
Imprint was, well, especially locally, there was a lot of backlash and shit. So they're like, I think they kind of took
and
the,
what
you
was
want to
the
hear the old,
backlash about? Because it was like more metal.
because
Like what
everyone
was
on Long
the?
Island is a pretentious douche. So it was, you come home and everyone tells you, oh, yo, you sold out. Where it's like, no, you put out a great fucking record that nobody appreciates. Until now, most of those people now will tell you it's the best record that they ever put out. And I'm not in the camp that hated it, but I'll put them in the camp that says that's their number one album. Uh, but I think it was kind of a backlash of, you want us to do the old shit? You want the old shit? Here you go. And that show that I talked about earlier, at the synagogue, that was kind of the test for that. That's when they busted out 713 for the first time in, you know, 5, 6, 7, whatever years. Since I don't know if that works mathematically because I'm stupid, but since
Mhm.
the PWAC days, we'll say. And that was, I want to say it was like 2000. Yeah, I think it was 2000. So it was, we're going to bring you back these old songs that you want to hear. And then I think they just were like, screw it, let's put it out because people dig it still. Let's do it, give it the new flavor. Like, the vocals sound
Mhm.
a lot more like the Imprint, the more raw type style. And those two other songs they put on it, I thought were awesome. Most people were like, "Oh, they're not the demo songs." Where it's like, "Yo, like,
Are you kidding
who
me?
cares? These songs,
Um,
like, they kick ass."
the last song on that album is the song from, was it Terra Firma, the Trauma movie that they scored to. That song is probably the best song they've ever done, and I don't think anybody remembers it.
Wow.
I'm I'm trying to
What
go
it
through the
was,
track listing
I
in my head
remember the
of
name. I can't
name. Yeah,
remember the
that's what I'm trying to do right
fucking
now.
name. All right, it was what is it?
I'm pulling it
Is
up.
that is that the record Phil was on?
No, no, that
No,
was
that was
Imprint.
Imprint.
That was
In
Imprint.
the room?
In the Room, yes, In the
Yeah,
Room. I think that was their best song that nobody's ever heard because it was on a obscure trauma movie.
I own that movie on DVD. But
But so let me ask you, Rob, do you own the live DVD? You own it,
no,
right?
I actually did not know that was a thing until I started just being like, I'm doing this podcast. Let me just go back and research, crap that I might have missed. No idea that even existed.
I
Oh, it
still don't
was
know. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
I might be on it. Like, I don't know what show it's from.
we
Do you still have all them 7 inches in front of you?
Yeah.
Let's see some of them while we're recording here.
Well, we got still
Jesus.
there's Japanese split with Nunchuck,
Oh
which
shit.
is a limited press. I don't know if you can see. It's number VOD out of 4,000, which I don't know who numbered that, but somebody did. Got their Japanese split with a band called Dive. Once again, they did, I guess, a tour of Japan and just put out a bunch of shit. And these Japanese 7 inches all have songs from Imprint. So this is Landslide and 12 Steps to Nothing. Uh, this is a split with a band called Minor League. This is Where What You Are in Jada Bloom.
Mm.
And then the Resurrecting Reality, which
Reality
we
seven
talked about
inch.
offline, which the Soulcraft on this sounds amazing.
Oh, it sounds better than the one that was on the album. I think this one is faster. The one
Yeah.
on the album they're playing more I'm not gonna say to a click, but it's slower and not nearly as good.
Oh no, you're talking about Clone because Soulcraft's a cover.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you put it on the 7 inch and then put it on the one that came out on Never Give In, a tribute to the Bad Brains.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It
No, it's
is
a different version of
way,
that. Yeah.
yeah, it's way different. And I mean, they still fuzz out Tim's vocals, but it's slower. That one is way faster. I have a rip of that. I have an MP3 rip of that I prefer to listen to that than the other one.
Yeah. No, that still gets play on my record player.
It's my brother's got my copy, and I text him like, "You still got that?" He's like, "Yeah, it's in a box." Amazing album.
Very cool.
So yeah, so they go from Imprint to For the Bleeders. At this point, Roadrunners cut them loose, and they end up on TBT, and they do From Bliss to Devastation, which I didn't get it at the time. Now I think it's brilliant.
So I never listened to From Bliss to Devastation, but I did go to the tour on that after that album came out. They did a tour with Cradle of Filth. It was Cradle of Filth, Nile, VOD, and God Forbid.
Jesus, that's a hell of a lineup.
Yeah, and they played at the Hammerstein Ballroom in Manhattan.
Mm.
And VOD played after Nile, so they played right before Cradle. And I was like, I'm pretty sure everybody's here for Cradle of Filth and Nile. But after VOD played, a lot of that place cleared out.
No shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy. I mean, there were still a lot of people there. It's a large place. I mean, I've seen Maiden there. There were still a lot of people for Cradle of Filth, but a lot of people left after VOD. And that's where I was still, it was years after the self-titled, and I hadn't listened to From Bliss to Devastation or anything, but I was super impressed how many people were still coming out for them locally.
Mm.
Yeah, it was very cool.
That's impressive.
What
Did they do a lot of Bliss stuff, or did they
I
kind of
can't
just
remember.
stick to the classics?
I can't remember. I was just
I would I would assume they did Southbound. I would assume they did what's the other song that
Itching to
was
bleed.
yeah, Itching to Bleed. Maybe On the Table. Right? I mean, those were I mean truthfully, I haven't listened to the B side of that album in a long time, but the A side has a bunch of songs which you could hear where they were going with Blood Simple, right? You could hear that was coming next. I do remember listening. Speaking of Blood Simple, I do remember listening to an interview with it might have been um the bassist. What's his name? Fleischman,
Mhm.
where he talked about how they were lined up. They were lined up to open for Pantera after the first Ozfest, and they were going to be the openers. And then what did he say? He said, I saw Vinnie Paul walking around with his arm around Raina from Cold Chamber, and I thought to myself, well, there goes that. And then, sure enough, Cold Chamber, Sharon Osbourne, Cold Chamber, and Machine Head opened that tour for Pantera.
Oh.
And then they talked about how they were gonna tour with Pantera for the, I think it was Tattoo the Earth over in Europe, and 9/11 happened. And Pantera was stuck over there. They were stuck stateside, and they were like, we're really not really itching to get on a plane at this point. And that kind of is what did them in, is that any momentum they had. I mean, it nuked a lot of bands, right? I remember shows just stopping almost overnight. And thank God, because it cut off Rob Flynn's terrible hairdo in that Supercharger album, right?
Oh my
like, I mean,
God.
Jesus. Tim and I did an episode where we had Defend This, and we had somebody come on and defend that album. And which is kind of funny. We also had somebody come on and try and defend Methods of Mayhem, which I'll go down swinging is one of Tommy Lee's better projects. But yeah, it was
Oh, God.
9/11
Better than
killed.
Generation Swine.
Yes, yes,
Ugh.
yes, yes. We joke about this. Rob, the guy who was on that album with Tommy Lee, he's a nutcase. He's out somewhere in Ohio, and he's like some weird influencer, like vape pen guy. I have been trying to track this dude down. I'm debating getting the FBI involved because I want him to come on the show, because I want to hear this story about how this dude ended up doing a new metal album with Tommy Lee. Like, he's got to have a story. He's got to have a story. But yeah, 9/11 did these guys in. It did a lot of bands in. I mean, I remember the shit. I remember tours driving up overnight. I remember going up home to visit my family in North Jersey, and the weekend after. And I remember coming up the turnpike, and you could still see it smoking.
Wow.
And I was like, Jesus, that's
And
something
even
else.
the years after that, being on Long Island, bands were afraid to cross the bridge or go through the tunnel.
Odd.
There was a show I had tickets to at the downtown, which Rob we didn't mention was actually a decent venue that the island had. It was a mid-sized venue, right? Maybe 400, maybe.
Yeah, probably 400 or 500.
I saw Andrew WK there. Like it was pretty big. Between the Buried to Me, Glass Casket, Beloved were supposed to play. It was like a whole North Carolina tour,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember an email coming out on that they canceled because there was like a heightened warning about the bridges and the tunnels. And this was, I don't know, maybe 2002, 2003, around that time maybe. And yeah, they canceled. They wouldn't cross.
People went kind of crazy.
Yeah.
People went a lot crazy. And then we saw it again in 2020. People went crazy.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So being Long Island hardcore lifers, what are some of the bands that never made it off the island that you guys think should have had more attention, more play than they actually got?
Motive.
100%.
Great answer.
I think that's if most people from Long Island, especially if they were around back then, that is probably the most underappreciated band that ever came out of Long Island.
Great fucking answer.
The best full length of any Long Island band in that scene was I versus the Beckoning of Darkness. The best.
Yeah, and the only
It's
thing
not
that
even
could
on
top that
Spotify.
is their 7-inch. Like that
Yeah.
band just killed. Them and this band that never even made a record, demo, anything. Well, demos they had. This band called Perception, which if you can find it, I would recommend doing it. I can probably get you guys a copy. It was anything that sounded like the newer like Poison the Well when Opposite of December came out, but like 5 years before all of that stuff came out.
Damn.
So it was just one of those bands that were way ahead of the curve and just people didn't catch on. And also Become One is a very underrated Long Island band that I don't think ever gets the credit they deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hells yeah. And I just want to throw
Who-
Tension in there. I don't know if you guys ever heard Tension, but
Yep.
Tension's been around forever. I don't know how they did out of state, but they used to kill it on Long Island. And I think is it At the Hour of Our Death was their full length, and they added their 7-inch to the end of it, and still one of my favorite records.
They used to come through Philly, right, Tim? I vaguely remember seeing them on some lineups.
I was gonna say before I forget though, who would Become One before that? What was that Standing
Standing
Eight?
Eight count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
even
the
that
Long
that
Island
was
dude, we could do a fucking episode about just how great the Long Island scene was, man.
I thought that's what this
So
was.
many good bands.
I mean, that's what
Well,
this
it's
turned
pretty
into.
much
It's another
turned
kind of
into
turned
it,
into.
If you
Was
guys want to do a part 2 of that, be glad to do it.
absolutely
Hell yeah.
was Sky King Forward Long Island?
I was just talking to the drummer before I came on here. Yeah, they're Long Island. They're opening the VOD show.
Mind Over Matter.
Mind Over Matter, Long Island, also.
Day in the Life. One of the bands that so Sam Hoyos.
Oh, you know Sam?
Oh yeah, we love Sam. We've had him on so many times, and he shows up and he's like, "You guys want to talk about Limp Bizkit?" I'm like, "Sam, you don't got to talk about fucking new metal. We know you're not a fan." He's like, "Oh, okay, fine. I feel better."
I was watching their new video right before
yes.
I logged on with this.
Dude, they are. You want to talk about prolific? Sam is a machine. They're always recording, but we had him on, and I said I kept begging him. It's a running joke now. I'm like, Sam, you got to hook me up with George Reynolds because I want to talk about Day in the Life because they're one of those bands that I think that album was so unique. Nobody knew what to fucking do with it, and they imploded before it even got going. But I said I missed them the VOD show that they played in Philly at the Troc. I was in line outside. Apparently, they got into a fight on stage. They only played 2 songs. By the time I made it inside, they were already off. And a very small Rob, what's his name from One King Down is doing
Fusco?
Fusco's doing Sonic the Hedgehog rolls across the stage for One King Down. I swear by Day in the Life is one of those bands that everybody has forgotten about, which actually is a really unique sounding album.
I'll throw that down as my number 1 band I want for a reunion to be out of Long Island. Like,
agreed.
Everyone else has done it, and they're one I'm like, it's gonna happen, it just never has. Don't know what their deal is with each other, but I would kill for that one.
Has
Millhouse,
Trip
and they did it, so.
Has Trip Face on a reunion recently?
They've done Scott plus others.
Okay.
I think it was members of Lariat, maybe, or a bunch of Albany guys, but it was never proper Trip Face. And
Rob and I
tie
were
into
there. It was fun though.
That was fun, yeah. But to tie into what we were talking off the air, though, What Lies Ahead podcast, he actually touches on that.
Oh, okay.
So,
I gotta listen to that now. Isn't the one dude from Red River, wasn't he in Trip Face as well? Fuck's his name?
Yeah, Brian Langan.
Brian,
he was he started Trip Face. He was the original guitarist.
Okay. God damn,
Man, it definitely is. It is a small world, man, between Sam and Brian and all those guys, and it's while we had Sam lined up. We are gonna do Tim and I have a joke show, which I'm not gonna spoil on the air, but we're gonna do a joke show around Limp Bizkit, and we had Sam signed up to be one of our guests.
Oh, nice.
Guest attendees playing a role, but we have him about all the time.
4 years in the fucking making at this point.
I literally. Tim and I we've been talking about this. Literally, it's been 4 years. But yeah, he's good people. It's good. I mean, I have come across a lot of really cool people doing this music stuff. All right, so now let me pivot it. We talked about the biggest bands from Long Island that you guys thought should have been paid attention to, didn't. Who are the bands now up and coming that you're like, yo, these guys need their chance in the limelight?
A bunch of them are getting the shine right now. You got Koyo is pretty huge right now.
Koyo's great.
Standstill,
Oh
pretty there,
fuck yeah.
bringing up. This band Liberate is really good. Um, Corey, if you want to jump in, because I'm
Yeah,
trying to think.
I was definitely gonna say Koyo and Stand Still. Heavy Hex,
They're all,
another
yeah,
great
awesome.
band. I'm gonna say Wreath of Tongues for
Mm.
grind, power violence, really good. Just saw them at AMH. And lastly, they've been around for a while, but Iron Chic is one of the least talked about bands from Long Island and one of the
Great
best.
band.
Yeah,
Isn't
I feel like
Sanction
they're
out of
based
Long Island?
Sanction. Yeah, they did they play a lot?
They've
I feel
just
like they
started doing
don't.
shows again. I thought they were one of those bands that COVID got rid of, like Left Behind and Low End, and some of those bands where they just the lockdown got them. But now they're starting to play shows again, so who knows? I will tell you, they had a monster reception at FYA. Like there,
Not surprised. They're awesome.
it was a I
Dude, they
Corey,
stole This
dude,
Is Hardcore.
Corey, start saving your money, dude. You got to go to FYA with me next year because
That's
it was
where's that?
down in Orlando, dude. It was so much fun. What a wild crowd! Like, I mean, I walked in the first day and I turned to my buddy Dan, and I'm in cargos and a t-shirt, and he's in jeans, and we walk in, and he looks at me, and I look at him, and I go, dude, we look like fucking narcs because there's like there were new metal kids there were slam kids there were hardcore kids,
You told me
but
there were bikers too, right?
oh yeah, there was two different bike gangs there. It was wild. But
Wow.
I will tell you, the bands, funnily enough, so you want to talk about sounds coming full circle. The bands that played that 90s influenced heavier metallic hardcore stuff, Contention got a pop.
Yeah, saw that video.
Balmora went over huge with the first two songs, and then they went into the fucking On Broken Wings cover, and people lost their minds. Balmora Sanction Final Resting Place. Final Resting Place got a huge reaction. In what is it? Internal Bleeding? Is that
That's Long Island?
Yeah.
They,
They have a new album coming out, I think, sometime soon.
Yeah.
It's either Maggot Stop or one of those bands. They went over massive, and I am convinced Jamie Josta willed that band back into relevance because he wouldn't stop talking about them. And now it's wild. Yeah, they were who else? Fatal Realm, which is the guitarist from Incendiary, not Incendiary, Mind Force. All the stuff playing that 90s Tim, what's the other stuff? They weren't there, but like Serration and what was the other band that I sent you? As Shara, all that Afira stuff.
yeah, they all sound like Perfect Cleansing,
Perfect
basically.
Cleansing, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
They're all awesome.
Yes, yes. So those of us that remember that sound, it's like, yo, this is really fucking good. But yeah, FYA was
North Carolina was probably back in what? The late 90s, early 2000s was probably the best scene.
Oh, yeah.
All the tribunal stuff.
All that tribunal shit.
Between
so
the Buried
good.
to Me, Glass Casket,
Undying.
From Here On. I mean, there's
Yep.
so many good bands.
Jesus, there was so much
Bludgeon.
coming out at that time.
Bludgeon was another one.
Yo, Bludgeon is one of the most underrated bands of all time.
Yeah.
Fucking love that band.
They were great. Glass Casket was from that area. Day of Suffering.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought they were from Rhode Island.
Oh wait, yeah.
There was a Day of
probably
Suffering
wrong.
and a Days for Suffering. One of them was from up here somewhere.
Yeah, because the bassist of Undying was in that band. I thought. I don't know.
If you go on Tribunal's Bandcamp, well, it's now called like something else. I think it's like Time Bomb Records or something. But if you go back to like the early '90s or late '90s, 2000s, and you look at all them bands, it's just like banger after banger, dude. That dude had a fucking ear back then. I mean, that scene was amazing. Like, I remember, you guys remember that band Knives, Exchanging Hands, all that kind of shit.
No.
Yeah, dude, go back and listen to all that shit when you got a free minute, man, because you'll be like, wow, there was so much good stuff back then.
But also with the Tribunal, there was Scarlet too, which EP was. I thought that EP was amazing. Then they did the full length on Ferret, and I was kind of over them.
Yeah.
But that EP I loved.
Oh, you remember Spitfire?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh,
It's funny how a label with an ear will do like look at Lumpy at Days. The stuff he finds is fantastic, right? Ifira, the cat from Maggot Stomp,
Days,
right? He finds some amazing shit.
Willow Tip.
Well, the guy from Willow Tip. Corey, what was the name of that band you sent me? It's a slam band, and the vocals were one of the weirdest things. Tim, this is who I get it from. Where I send you this shit, and you go, "Where do you find this garbage?"
Yeah.
It's Corey sending it to me, and I'm sending it to you.
I
That
thought I was
once,
the only one who got that, then deleted it
no,
immediately.
no, I listened to it. Then I'm like, "Yo, what is this?" He's
It
like,
was
"I don't
awesome.
know."
I will find it. Yeah, any weird slam stuff or anybody sounding like a pig, I send it right to you, Jay. You're the first person.
He does, and I'm like, and then I send him back like, "Yo, this is good," and I can see him looking at his phone at work, going, "Ugh."
We and Rob do this all day. We just
Yeah.
send each other music.
Yeah, no, that's our relationship.
Usually, me and Jay, it's just me bitching, going, "Yo, did you listen to that? I sent it to you 4 fucking months ago."
Oh, Tim will tell you, he'll send me shit, and like I'll be like, all right, I'll listen to this, and I don't listen to it, and like 3 months later, I'm like, yo, have you heard of this band? I don't know, such, and he'll be like, asshole, go back in your messages. I sent it to you like 2 quarters ago. I'm like, yo, my bad.
I sent that to you 3 years ago.
It's well, also with Tim's work, right? He goes through, he listens to way more shit than in one. He'll listen to more shit in one day than I will do in a week. So I can't even keep up.
Yeah,
All right,
same.
all right, guys. So we're getting close to time because I know we all have work. We all have work in the morning. What are your top album picks for this year so far? We're halfway through April. Rob, what do you got?
I was gonna say, Corey, start as I pull up my
All right, I'll start.
Spotify's year list.
So this year so far, number one, actually I'll start with number three. The new Allegon. Am I saying it right?
No,
Is it a
Allegiant.
Allegiant. I don't know. Can't stop listening to it. So that came out. Number two right now, probably Night Flight Orchestra. That new album.
Okay.
And number one, just like every year they put out a new album, is Coheed and Cambria.
Wow.
The best band in the world. Vaxxus 2 came out. That was the best album of the year. Vaxxus 1 came out. That was the best album of the year. Vaxxus 3.
That's a bold statement. It's a bold statement.
I forgot that album came out. I listened to it once. It was fine, but I'll have to go back and dedicate the 3 hour long that album probably is.
What do you got, Rob?
I'll go the new Spirit World, El Dorado.
Yo, they lean into that Western, like Vegas desert metal. I think it makes me laugh the whole time in a good way.
They're I don't know. I'll say they're a lot of fun. I've never seen them. Hopefully that will change. I think they're playing Queens/Brooklyn/ whatever at the Knockdown Center with Exodus. Corey, is that right?
It's Obituary,
all right.
Spirit World, Pest Control,
and
Nails, and Terror.
Yeah. You coming up for that one?
No, they're coming out. I forget where they're coming, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't think Nails sounded good at FYA. I know because he's got a really, really thick distortion. It sounded so muddy. When I went back and watched the one video, I'm like, you tell me, maybe they sorted it, but I love Nails live, but it was so distorted. I couldn't really get into it, sadly.
Never seen them, only a fan of their records. All right, I'll also throw in this band out of Texas. It's a young band. I think they're probably all in their teens. They're called Of Eden. I have no idea what the name of the EP is, but if you're into the old Sky Came Falling type sound, the old like late 90s metalcore, they do it amazing. To piggyback on Corey,
hold on a second.
Yep.
Well, since 1021 is probably one of my favorite records of all time.
Okay.
I need to check this Of Eden out.
Yeah,
what is
the album's called
called?
A Chapter Worth Reading is the name of the album.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like I said, if you're into that style, it's really cool. And speaking of 1021, have you heard the remaster vinyl?
Yes, I did, and I'm gonna be that guy. I like the old one better.
I have to say, everything sounds like garbage on my record player because I'm poor. This record is the only record that sounds good on my record player. So whatever the hell they did, it worked because that thing I think sounds brilliant.
Let me go back and listen to it then, because I know when the singles were coming out, like when they were releasing them, I was like, I love it, but I just love the original better. And I'm not talking shit at all. I mean,
yeah, no,
one of my favorite records of all time, and I was super excited when they mentioned it was coming out, but I was like, oh, it just didn't do it for me.
And then I'll throw one more out. The new record, I don't even know what the hell the name of it is, but by Speedway, came out like 2 weeks ago. Really good, just straight up.
Corey, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, Jay, I sent that to you. I said that was the British version of Suicide File.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
It's great.
By the way, Tim, remember how I told you there's a guy I send stuff to and he sends back, he's like, I can't listen. This is terrible. Like I sent him Crippling Alcoholism and he said it sounds like the Crash Test Dummies.
Yeah.
That was Corey. It was Corey. He's like, I can't. It's like, and I know because I know he's listening to it because he stops texting. And then 5 minutes later, it's like, as soon as I get a text that early, I'm like, yo, he hates it. And my phone is like, yo, I can't listen to this. It's a Crash Test Dummy. So I'm just like,
I tried. It was tough to get through.
I will tell you, for me this year, so far the new Whitechapel is the best metal album I've heard this year. Awesome. And I gotta say, I told Tim I saw them live. You want to talk about a band that's been together for 20 years that is just professionals. They got up and it's just boom, 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 interlude, boom. It was unbelievable. That's my metal pick. Close second is the new Death Heaven album.
Yeah, awesome.
They fucking landed this plane and they found all the stuff from New Bermuda and Sunbather and they just put it in one big package. Hardcore wise, I don't know. I really like the new Jive Bomb because I think she sounds like Donald Tardy from Obituary.
She does ish.
Yeah, Corey's face is like, Jesus. I think that one sounds great. But the non-metal, non-heavy music pick, my so far from album of the year is Trevor Something's newest album is unbelievable. Like he literally takes that 80s synthwave stuff and says, hey, you're looking for something to put on in the background while you and your lady get down? Put this on. And it is unbelievable. He did a covers album and it was all Depeche Mode, Nine Inch Nails, Justin Timberlake was what he covered. Like, and it was, check out Trevor Something if you're into that. But yeah,
I'm pulling that up right now to listen to work tomorrow.
It is good stuff. I still haven't listened to the new Mizmor and Hell album, so I have no idea how that sounds. I'm sure it sounds. I'm sure it sounds depressing. Are you guys going? Are you guys getting dragged into sunlight up your way? Are they coming?
Yeah, they're playing the city, I believe. They're playing that or Brooklyn. Yeah,
probably Brooklyn.
I don't think so. No, there's so many shows coming up.
They're playing with Mizmor at a venue in Philly that has a ball pit. So you had me sold and dragged into sunlight.
Yeah.
Then you had Mizmor, which when they played Psycho Las Vegas, I've never seen so many people so upset with their own lives at 11:30 a.m. on a Saturday in Vegas. Like that's the vibe this guy cultivates. And they're playing a venue with a ball pit.
Are they going to bring the chandelier? I saw a video where they had a chandelier.
Yeah, and they play facing the other way.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
Very interesting. I mean, and Rob will tell you too, there are so many shows between Brooklyn and Manhattan and Long Island. It's hard to get to a lot of them. So,
especially with everything being bare minimum $45.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And to your point, if you're catching the $10, $12 show, like I said, they're playing at some coffee house in West Philly where I get out of my car and I'm like, this is definitely going to get bombed by the IDF. Like, I don't know what's going to happen here. Like, it's terrible. It's not a good look.
Well, Jay, I sent you that flyer, that VOD flyer. If you
yes. Who was that?
It was $12, I believe. And to this day, probably the best show I've ever been to. It was Sick of It All, VOD, Snapcase, AFI, and Ensign.
Was that Tramps?
No. At the Roxy in the city.
Oh, the Roxy. All right.
It was $12.
Tim, did you catch that lineup? What he just said?
I heard AFI and I was like, that's fucking wild. But
AFI went on after Ensign. That's how crazy it was.
It was Sick of It All, VOD, Snapcase, AFI, and Ensign. At where was this?
The Roxy on the west side of Manhattan.
That's a great lineup.
That is a fucking wild lineup.
It was a roller skating rink that they just put a stage on. And
dude, Ensign opened.
Yeah.
Was that Art of Drowning AFI?
No, that was before that.
A Black Sails?
I think it was before that too. That was
God damn, dude.
90. I have it written here. It was 96, 97, April of 97.
Wow.
But yeah, we were talking about
get the record before that one.
How cheap it Spotify. I'll have to go to Spotify for that.
With the Reservoir Dogs-esque cover that I just can't remember the damn name.
Shut your mouth and open your eyes.
There you go.
Yeah, Black Sails came out the next year.
2 amazing records in a row.
That band completely missed me. I have no idea what they sound like.
You're fucking crazy.
I just assume they sound like My Chemical Romance, and I don't know what they sound like either. So
They're
You're
both good. You should
100%
listen to both of
wrong.
them.
Tim's coming to come through the screen and be like,
Oh,
"Yo,
no,
I
dude, no.
can't host podcasts with you anymore,
If there
buddy."
if there's any like hardcore punk rock band that you should listen to, it's them. Them AFI records are fucking they're unbeatable.
See, I always thought they were like emo. They're not emo.
No, I mean
It
the
depends on
records
what era, but
after.
the old stuff was not at all.
No.
Dude, The Art of Drowning is one of the greatest records of all time.
Hell's
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of punk rock stuff, we go back to the Psycho Las Vegas. There was a dude dressed as one of the Aquabats there. And me and my buddy pulled him aside. We're like, "Yo, we love your fucking outfit, dude." And he looks at me and he goes, first of all, he goes, "Holy shit. You guys are the only people that have come up to me and actually know what my costume is." And I'm like, maybe we're old, whatever. And then he goes, "Yo, my asshole friends were supposed to come with me and none of them brought their costumes. So I'm the only one here in a con piece." And I just started laughing. I'm like, "Yo, good on you, man." But yeah. Speaking of Drain, they played with the house lights on. They had a 45-minute slot. They played 22 minutes. And they were like, "Yeah, we're out of songs, so we'll see you guys later." And they fucking got on stage. And I'm like, "I'll take it, man. I'll take it." My Rob will enjoy this because he's an older guy with a full-time job. I have an idea for an inverse festival where, let's say we have, I don't know, Poison the Well is the old guy headliner, and let's say Knock Loose is the young guy headliner. You start with the old guy headliner band, and you get younger as the day goes on, and then in the middle point you flip over, and then you just do like, well, we're Speed into Drain into all that, into Torture, into Knock Loose, so the old guys can show up early, see the bands that they want to see, and stick around as long as they want for the younger bands. Conversely, the young guys can show up later, catch early enough to see the older bands, and then see. I think this is going
I
to work.
love it.
I'm
I think
all
it sounds
for
better than
this.
This Is Hardcore.
I mean, imagine showing up to This Is Hardcore at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and getting to see Earth Crisis, then Dead Guy, then Snapcase, then Sky Came Falling, then I don't know. So, and then eventually it's like, "Oh, okay, well, who is this? Combust. All right, I'm out."
Honestly, that new
Good.
Combust record, I'd stick around for them. That record's
Thank
pretty
you,
awesome.
Rob.
I don't care if they're giving away 10 bands with it. It's not. I am over it. It's not my thing. It's just not.
Oh,
My
I
thing.
said that about the last one. This new one, I dig.
It's
them
just
both.
not my thing.
I think there's a record that we should tell these two about, or I think I should tell these two about because you didn't mention it. But that new A Sky So Black record is so fucking good.
Yes.
I'm putting that on my list now too.
Yes.
It's all one word.
Yeah, Philly guys. We had their vocalist singer on the show. Tim, describe it. Proto grunge,
Yeah.
funky.
Yeah, the record's called Touch Heaven. It's so fucking good, man.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's really, really good.
Is that
Either
your
one.
pick of the year, Tim?
Right. Dude, I'm really digging that new Body Box record. Like,
I never heard it.
like, dude, like I don't know what it is. It just sounds so. Though it's so well produced. Like I listen to it at the gym, and I'm like, "Yo, dude, I just want to smash people with fucking weights right now."
Tim's winging barbells and people. Yeah, it's Hunter Young. Anything that dude touches. I mean, he's got a fucking golden finger. I'm curious to see what golden ear. I'm curious to hear what the new mood ring sounds like.
Yeah.
Because he's been at it. Are either of you, Rob, Corey, either of you guys going to the Hellfira show over 4th of July weekend? The Hellfest, the Josh Truscott Hellfest Ifira show?
I'm trying to convince Sky King Falling to let me just hop in their van and go with them. It is 4th of July, so family and everything
yeah,
else.
Tough.
But
That's a tough
I
year.
found out they're not playing on the 4th, so I might try to pull the hey, I can walk to your house, just throw me in with your kick drum, and
I'll carry some drums in. Yeah,
no, I'll pay for the ticket. I just don't want to drive.
Don't have to drive it. I have our buddy
That sounds
Dan.
exactly like me.
Our buddy Dan already has he bought 2 tickets. He's like, "Yo, I counted you in, so I just bought your tickets. Don't worry about it."
Nice.
Same guy who peer pressured me in the Psycho Las Vegas and FYA, and he's already got a hotel room. And I'm like, "Dude, it's my wife's birthday."
Oh,
So I said I could probably do one of the days, if not 2. Definitely not 2. It's gonna have to be one of the days. So who do you? So we'll end with this before we wrap it up. Everybody knows who the New Breed Podcast is. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, Gmail, etc. Who do you think the hidden band is on that lineup? It's definitely a reunion band. Who is the hidden band? Because there's one band that's blurred out at the top of that bill.
To be honest, I haven't looked at it. I'm pulling
Yeah, I
it up
haven't even
now as
looked at
Corey
it.
gives his answer.
I know I wasn't going, so I didn't look at it. But maybe it's a past Hellfest headliner. So maybe Hatebreed or Lamb of God or Avenged Sevenfold. All those bands played Hellfest at some point.
I'll throw this one out without looking at it. Is Dillinger on that show?
No.
All right, then Dillinger's my answer because they're Jersey.
That's a fair.
Oh,
You got
that's
Dimitri back. They might be recording from what I'm reading. Like,
Yeah, Dimitri just said something about them recording.
saw that earlier.
Corey, were you at the Hellfest in Rexplex?
Yep.
Where Jake Bannon gets up and he goes, their album leaked. He said, how many of you have heard You Fail Me? And all these people raise their hand. He's like, well, fuck you. And then he goes right into the set. Oh man. All right, we're gonna cut everybody loose. All right, so Corey, Rob, guys, thanks so much for coming on. This has been really, really fun. We definitely deviated from VOD, but fucking it's our own show. Who cares? We will definitely have you two back on and talk about the history of Long Island hardcore because I definitely think we can kill. Maybe we'll get Sam on as well, and we'll pick on him for liking
He'll talk about the replacements.
yeah, replacements are who's the Sabrina Carpenter. He'll talk about Sabrina Carpenter for like 3 hours. So I want to thanks Rob and Corey for coming on. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, watching, listening once again. New Breed _podcast on Twitter and Gmail, New Breed Twitter and Instagram, New Breed Podcast at gmail.com. Leave us a voicemail 267-297-4627. New episodes every 12 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday when I remember to release them. New reaction videos every Friday. Have lunch with us. Until next week. Cheers.
Later.